Hi guys, so let's talk about CSS modules. There's so many resources on them, but I tried it out and you can just get it working in a few steps. You just have to make your TypeScript happy. Then you may want to confirm that this is actually working. So we're going to use a Cypress component test to make sure that things are working. All right, so let's take a look at these two files, right? So let's say we have a button module CSS, and we have a colors module CSS, and the file structure looks like so. They're in the same folder, but maybe you have a bigger repository, of course, and you have these colors somewhere, or you have some CSS somewhere, and then you want to compose that CSS. So effectively, this is just object assigned for CSS, right? So take a look at this button module. We have the base button attributes, so we use compose keyword to get those, and then we can get any attribute from this other CSS module by just importing it. So just like importing JavaScript modules, we're just importing it and just putting it there. And it's just like object assigned, right? So it's very similar. So let's use this in a component, right? So this is React example, but they're available, I believe, in all the frameworks by now. So this component has two props. I added label there just so it renders something, but you don't even need that. So basically here, we're going to differentiate by the type. And it's either going to be a primary type or a secondary type. And then we're going to have a different style of button based on the mount. And you'll see this styles being imported from right here in this module here. The key to making that work and making TypeScript happy is that we have to install TypeScript plugin CSS modules. And we have to add that into compiler options and plugins. Once we do that, things are happy. So if you are using Create React app, or maybe you have some beat settings, you don't have to do this next step. And if I add a file here, I think it's going to complain that, hey, you already have this kind of setting somewhere. So if you've done this and it's complaining about not being able to import the module.css file, just create a DTS definition file and add this piece of code in there. But it may complain about something existing. I think I have this somewhere, but if I restart TypeScript, it might start complaining. Anyway, so this is what you're going to need if you're not able to import. But if you're using Create React app or if you have certain read settings, and I tried this in both kinds of repositories, then you may need to add this type definition. Just get rid of that since we don't need it here. Close this. So that's the component. Let's take a look at the component test. So we'll put this guy here, put this guy here, and then the test just mounts the component. So once you're mounting with type primary, and then the second one with the secondary prop, and it's going to have different colors based on that. So if you look at this, we can even see the colors matching exactly as we have described them. So our composition seems to be working if our test is passing, and we can even visually make sure that it works. So if we go to the first test, I'll close the highlights, and of course I didn't guesstimate these immediately. I had it fail, and then I put the right value in there. Well, let's just turn it off. Um, the higher one. So purple background with greenish text, and then the second mount is greenish background with purple text. So you can prove that CSS modules are working issue free with TypeScript, and actually they're working in our components. So if it works in this component test, it's going to work everywhere. So that's it. If you want to see a working example, this is under Cypress React component test examples, and by now there are probably 400 or more. And I summarize the steps here. In only just a few steps, you can get this working for you and start using CSS modules. And basically, the selling point is object assigned for CSS using the components keywords. The only additional setting you might need is in your IDE, it may complain about the composers keyword. To make that happen, go to user settings and you will have to add the css.lint.valid properties. So without that, you might see that the IDE is complaining about that unknown keyword. called composes, which is the bread and butter, basically, right? That's your object assigning ability. And once you add it there, you'll be fine. That's it. That's all I want to share. Enjoy.